Let's talk about Ireland's food waste problem. And you know what? It's a massive one with some really serious costs environmentally, socially, and economically. But here's the thing, it is solvable. In this explainer, we're going to break down not just the sheer scale of the crisis, but some of the truly innovative solutions that could turn this whole problem into a powerful opportunity for a much more sustainable future. First things first, to really get what's at stake here, we need to wrap our heads around two things: just how enormous the amount of waste is, and the pretty big paradox that sits right at the heart of it all. Okay, so get a load of this number: 835,000 tons. That is how much food Ireland wastes every single year. That's according to the Environmental Protection Agency's 2023 data. Now, to put that into perspective for you, that's like throwing out over 1 million meals every single day. It's just a staggering amount of lost resources. And you might be thinking, oh, that's just us at home, right? Forgetting about the leftovers in the fridge? Well, not exactly. While our households do contribute a pretty big chunk, we're talking 221,000 tons, the largest single source is actually manufacturing and processing. That's over 300,000 tons. This is a systemic issue, touching every single link in the chain, all the way from the farm to your fork. Now, this huge national problem has a very personal cost. The EPA figures that the average Irish family throws away up to €1,000 worth of food every year. Just think about what you could do with an extra €1,000. See, this isn't some abstract environmental thing. It hits you directly in your household budget. And this is the central paradox. All of this waste, all these lost resources, and this wasted money is happening while about 1 in every 12 households in Ireland is actually struggling with food insecurity. The source material for this calls it a collective dysfunction at national level. And, it's really hard to argue with that. So why is this happening? I mean, it's not for a lack of good intentions, but there's this huge gap between what our policies are trying to do and what's actually happening on the ground. On one side, you've got some really strong policy ambitions. The UN's goal to have food waste by 2030, Ireland's own Circular Economy Act. But then you look at the other side and, well, reality tells a very different story. The waste levels are just stubbornly high. The bridge that's supposed to connect policy to practice, it's clearly broken. So to figure out why that bridge is broken, we've got to look a little deeper. The food we see overflowing in bins, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The real causes are actually hidden way down below the surface. And this is the key question, isn't it? If just telling people to waste less food isn't working, what are the invisible forces that are driving this problem? Well, the answer lies in a really useful tool from systems thinking. It's called the iceberg model, and it shows us that the events we can all see, like throwing away food, are actually driven by these deeper, less visible layers: the patterns of behavior, the structures of our society, and the fundamental beliefs that shape the entire system. All right, let's break it down. At the very top, you have the events. That's the 835,000 tons of waste we see. Below that, you find the patterns. These are the recurring things we do, like overbuying at the supermarket or overproduction in factories. Go deeper still, and you hit the structures that cause those patterns. The big one here is our linear produce, consume, discard economy, where it's often just cheaper to throw things away than to prevent waste. And right at the very bottom, the foundation of it all, are the mental models. These are the deep-seated beliefs that food is kind of cheap and undervalued, and that, well, a certain amount of waste is just normal. If we want to fix the problem, we have to tackle these deeper layers. Okay, so we've looked at the deep, systemic problem. Now let's get to the exciting part, the solution. And it all starts with a huge shift in how we think, moving away from just managing waste and toward creating real value. The key concept here is something called waste valorization. It's a bit of a fancy term, but the idea is actually pretty simple. It's about totally reframing what waste is. It's no longer the end of the line. Instead, it becomes a valuable raw material, a starting point for something new and genuinely useful. And there are two really powerful technologies leading the way here. At a big industrial scale, you've got anaerobic digestion, which creates renewable energy. And then at the community scale, there's composting, which creates fantastic nutrient-rich soil. Both of them take something we would have just thrown away and turn it into a valuable resource. Let's focus on anaerobic digestion for a second. In simple terms, you get these tiny microorganisms to basically digest food waste in an environment with no oxygen. And this whole process produces two amazing things: biogas, which is a renewable energy source, and a nutrient-rich material that can be used as a fantastic fertilizer. And here is where it gets really, really cool. That biogas can be upgraded into something called biomethane, a totally renewable fuel. And this fuel can then be used to power the exact same trucks that deliver our food in the first place. It creates this perfect circular loop, turning the waste from our food system into fuel for our food system. It's brilliant. So, how do we take all this and build it into a practical plan? Let's look at the actual steps needed to create a new circular food system for Ireland. The research lays out 4 clear steps. First, set up decentralized bioeconomy hubs around the country to process waste locally. Second, you have to create the right policies and financial incentives to make it all worthwhile. Third, build the infrastructure we need, like special refueling stations for those trucks. And finally, and this is a big one, foster education to build a circular culture where wasting food is just no longer seen as normal. And this quote really gets to the heart of it all. It says that this transformation is both technical and cultural. It means we have to fundamentally change our relationship with our resources, to stop seeing waste as a problem we have to get rid of and start seeing it as a regenerative input. So that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. What if, by shifting our perspective, we realize there's no such thing as waste at all, only a resource that happens to be in the wrong place?